Good morning, and welcome back to the Daily Trucking Market Update podcast. I'm your host, Driven, and on this show, I dive into the markets to keep you truck drivers, you owner operators, up to date so you can best position your truck to make the most money. Now, I'll be using the DAT load board, and I appreciate them sponsoring this video. And in return, they've provided you with the link down in the description box for 10% off for your first 12 months, so check it out. Now, stick around. I got a dad joke to tell, and then we'll dive right in.
Rolling down the highway, sun just breaking through. Radio's playing loud, the show's for me and you. Learn how to book your loads and make that money flow. Keep the shiny side up wherever we go.
Now, all that I ask for the little chuckle, or maybe not, is to hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing if you get some value from this. Or maybe just a laugh. Good morning. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I got to spend it with the kiddos, and he found the dad joke. My son found the dad joke, and it cracked him up. We'll get into that in 1 second here. Just real quick, some of you have already found it. There should be a link below the video, or multiple links, a little shelf. Y'all have already found the hats. I had no intention of doing this, but an ad popped up. I saw that Teespring offers hats again. So I thought, why not? It's super easy for me to do. And I literally to this day still get emails asking for a Driven Trucking hat. So I'm not asking any of you to buy this, but I put it out there just because I still get emails. I took a 2-year break and this still happens. So they are available. You can click on the store below the video, and it'll take you over to this, and you can see the story. I put everything in there because if I'm gonna make hats, why not just go ahead and do everything else? So you can scroll through this and you can look. There's a coffee mug. Yes, I've got pink in there for the ladies too. But there's multiple colors if you click on the different options. There's hats, there's a desk mat, there's a towel, there's joggers, there's hoodies, there's different style of hoodies. I put an inexpensive option. I made sure that I included the most inexpensive option from what I had available to me, as well as a quality option. Me personally, I like to buy quality, but I know not everybody's that way, so I offered both. There's shirts, long sleeve shirts, short sleeve shirts, and there's beanies as well. But real quick, so the hats, don't buy a hat that has the logo in the center. If you can see, there's a seam right here on my hat. You probably can't see it because I'm zoomed out a little bit, but there's a seam right there in the center of the hat. And they're on all these hats. And I didn't think about it until I had already created everything. It takes 72 hours for a product to go up, and then it has to close out. So it technically is still available. But there are still a couple of designs. There's a snapback that has a camouflage hat in there, so that's pretty cool. But then there's the good old trucker hat, right? That's got the offset logo on it. Do not buy the logo in the center because these are embroidered, and it'll just get messed up. So don't do that. If you're going to buy a hat, I'm not asking you to, but some people want to. And so there's black, just in the trucker hat. There's different colors for everything. There's black. There's a navy white, which I think is probably the coolest and closest to the Driven Trucking color. And then there's an all navy. So you can pick your poison. And it's trucker hat, just like this one with the mesh. So there you go. Once again, I am not asking anyone to buy them. It's just some people want to buy the stuff, and hey, it's there. I'm offering it to you. If that's not you, that is totally cool. I don't care. But anyway, enough of that. I'm probably not going to mention that again. It's underneath. It'll be underneath every single video. There's a little shelf down there, and I think it randomly scrolls through products, or maybe it chooses products. I don't know. I really don't spend a whole lot of time on it, so that's fine. I put obviously you got the genuine logo on it. I made sure that it was quality, but I didn't put a whole lot of time and effort to it. I'm not going to spend time advertising. This is probably the last time you're even going to hear me talk about it. There is a promotion, but I think it's right there on the website. It's like for the first month that's up, you can type in Driven, and then you get 10% off. So there you go. All right, dad joke. We get two today because it's Monday. So this weekend's we have what do you need to make a small fortune on Wall Street? A large fortune. That's just truth. That's not even funny. And then today's a bartender broke up with her boyfriend, but he kept asking her for another shot. He doesn't. That's a good one. All right, let's get into the weather update, and then we'll go straight into the trucking market update. Let's not do that screen. This screen. All right. So as you can see, we got more up there in the Northwest. Yeah. I mean, it's just Northwest rainy, snowy season. It just is what it is. So you've got that. You've got a little bit of snow. We'll scroll through here in a second, but we're going to cover a couple of things before I do that. So you got a snowstorm in Colorado, and if you've driven 70 in Colorado, then during the winter, you know how that can be. You very much want to just avoid that if at all possible. If you can't, pay attention to the weather, look at it, look at your updates, go to all the DOT websites. You can look up if you don't know what the actual websites are, you can type in Google or whatever your search bar, type in the state and road closures, and it'll be one of the top, if not the top hit on that search, and it'll take you to their website. Every state has its own website, and it's all under different stuff. So I can't just point you in one direction. It's a little ridiculous, but I guess it is what it is. That'll take you to the website. From there, you can find kind of what's going on. You can look and see cameras. You can that are on the roads. You can see all sorts of things. So do that. I mean, it's great information. It'll let you know, pretty much exactly what's going on. But more importantly, just at least keep up with it in some shape, form, or fashion. You got a rainstorm in, Kansas? Right there in Kansas. And you got some rain down there in Florida. Well, let's scroll through. So to later today, because I already looked at this, you've got more snow going to pop up there in Washington, a little bit in Oregon. But then the storm up there in that Northwest starts to move east, and it turns into snow tomorrow. So you're going to have snow up there in northern Idaho and the western portion of Montana. And then it looks like it just kind of dies out. But, yep, that's the weather in a nutshell for today. Diving into the trucking market update. So I like to start here. This is the states. This gives us an overall barometer. It's not going to tell us exactly where the freight's at in the specific state. Like for instance, California is going to be way above the load to truck ratio in favor of the drivers, but you're not able to go to just any point in California. So in a few minutes, we will dive into the specific markets, and I'll let you know exactly where that freight is located, or at least the hotter markets for that freight. You need more than just this information. So Alabama, 835 loads in to 452 loads out. That's just normal for Alabama. Arkansas, 330 loads in to 668 loads out. So really good shape. Good start to the week for Arkansas. The bad thing for Arkansas is that it's surrounded by a bunch of bad states. So those extra loads that are sitting there wind up getting eaten up. So unfortunately, you don't have a lot of negotiating power there in Arkansas, despite the good levels. Arizona, 564 loads in to 590 loads out. Wow, great shape for Arizona, but more of the same as I just mentioned. California, 1,842 loads in to 3,189 loads out. So excellent start for California. Tons of negotiating power there. You don't get a whole lot of trickle from the other states that are surrounding it coming in to eat up those loads. So you do have negotiating power there in California. Colorado, 576 loads in to 291 loads out. That's normal. Connecticut, 318 loads in to 139 loads out. DC has 5 loads. Delaware, 66 loads in to 59 loads out. Florida, 3,042 loads in to only 577 loads out. normal. Georgia, 2,460 loads in to 1,096 loads out. It's a lot of trucks headed in. But that's not abnormal to see on a Monday. The freight's a little bit up. Not much to speak of, though. I mean, the ratio is so poor. So grab whatever you can if you're down there in that southeast, and get the heck out of there. It's unfortunately not going to be paying well, but it's better to actually be rolling and get to a better market than it is to sit and pray for something to pop up, which is very unlikely. Iowa, 406 loads in to 658 loads out. So good start for Iowa. Love to see that. That is a state that you can negotiate. Really good shape. Good start to the week for Iowa. Idaho, 124 loads in to 301 loads out. So like to see that. That's a good start for the Northwest. Illinois, 1515 in, 2,507 loads out. So great start to the week for Illinois. We'll check to see the states surrounding it, but if patterns remain true over the past couple of weeks, as they have, Illinois, you do have that negotiating power there, and I imagine you probably do. But we'll double check for certainty here. Indiana, 929 loads in to 1,614 loads out. So really good start for Indiana. That's been one of the hotter states over the last few weeks, and that remains true. You do have negotiating power there. Kansas, 417 loads in to 478 loads out. So good start for Kansas as well. It falls off usually as the week goes on, but we are above that 50-50 mark, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a lot of negotiating power there. Kentucky, 829 loads in to 888 loads out. That's a good number. Good start to the week for Kentucky. Love to see that. Not a ton of negotiating power, though, due to surrounding states, but it is in good shape. Louisiana, 388 loads in to 419 loads out. That's a little bit above normal, but more of the same, surrounding states. Massachusetts, 476 loads in to 247 loads out. It's normal. Maryland, 494 loads in to 440 loads out. So despite the small bump in production, we got an even larger bump in loads coming in. Maine, 109 loads in, 139 loads out. Michigan, 726 loads in, 1,015 loads out. Love to see that. Love to see Michigan starting off strong. That's one of those states that comes on, that gets better as the week goes on. And if you've been around the channel, you very likely pointed your truck towards those Great Lakes states towards the end of the week, because that's where the ratios are the best. Those have been the best markets. But welcome to winter. Now it has the possibility of snowing up there. So plan accordingly, I guess. Minnesota, 551 loads into, I just lost it. 799 loads out. So also a good start for Minnesota to the week. It's a little bit above average for Minnesota's start. So love to see that. Missouri, 737 loads into 1,098 loads out. Love to see that. It's unfortunate because it's surrounded by states that don't have a ton of freight. So you do get that excess eaten up, but that excess is increasing. That's an increase from what we saw last week. So love to see that. Mississippi, 368 loads in to 437 loads out. Again, another move. Well, not really a move, because that's good for Mississippi. It is a small bump in production, but nothing to speak of. Montana, 64 loads in to 93 loads out. North Carolina, 1,732 loads in, 892 loads out. So poor shape for the southeast down there. North Dakota, 81 loads in, a little bit. That's a little above normal. To 151 loads out. That is normal. So you still have negotiating power there, though. I imagine if, we already covered Minnesota. So you've got some negotiating power up there, but not as much as you normally do. But I will say this: the difference is minimal, right? In what you normally have to what you have today. So certainly have negotiating power up there. Try to use it. Nebraska, 208 loads in, 155 loads out. It's a little down even for Nebraska. New Hampshire, 130 loads in to 40 loads out. Jersey, 708 loads in, 1,201 loads out. So that's an increase. It's pretty much normal for a Monday for Jersey, but it's a good start to the week, certainly. New Mexico, 116 loads in to 100 loads out. Hey, back to normal numbers for New Mexico. I'm not sure why they were so inflated, or they have been. Don't trust that. Nevada, 206 loads in to 405 loads out. Love to see it. That's a 2-to-1 ratio there in favor of the truck drivers. So good start. Not a huge bump in production. We've seen upper fours, even into the 500s, but still a great start to the week. New York, 868 loads in to 1,206 loads out. Good start for New York, but that's going to be dependent on Pennsylvania, which we'll get to in a second. Ohio, 1,571 loads in, 2,101 loads out. Good shape for Ohio. Good start. A lot of trucks headed that way, more than normal, but we have more than normal production coming out, so that pretty much just offsets itself. Ohio usually surrounded by good states, so you do have negotiating power there in Ohio. Oklahoma, 452 loads in to 279 loads out. It's normal. Oregon, 235 loads in to 401 loads out. Good start for the Northwest. It could be better for Oregon. We've seen much better starts to the week, and especially considering production was slowed down last week due to the weather. I'm a little surprised that that's not better. PA, 1,780 loads in, 2,172 loads out. So we do see an increase in production, but we also see a healthy increase for trucks headed in. So that's going to eat some of that up, but it's still above that 50-50 mark. It's still surrounded by good states. So you do have a little bit of negotiating power there, not a ton, but it is there. So Rhode Island, it's not going to affect the surrounding states in a negative manner. So that's good. Rhode Island, 90 loads in to 31 loads out. South Carolina, 931 loads in, 788 loads out. That's a normal number for South Carolina. South Dakota, 112 loads in to 105 loads out. So both are up, but not in the favor of the truck driver. However, 7 loads, that's nothing. So, but you're not going to have a ton of negotiating power there in South Dakota. If you are headed that way and you happen to be close to North Dakota, check out North Dakota, see what they've got. Tennessee, where'd it go? 1,211 loads in to 1,027 loads out. So we do see an increase in production there, but we see a much larger increase in trucks headed in. So unfortunately, Tennessee, not great shape. Texas, 4,052 trucks headed in. Wow. To 2,620 out, loads headed outward. I mean, those are both up. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's Texas. You're not going to get a great load coming out of Texas, unfortunately. Utah, 354 loads in to 345 loads out. That's actually decent for Utah. It's an increase in both. Yeah. Virginia, 982 loads in, 785 loads out. So just a normal start to the week for Virginia, which is in favor of the brokers. Vermont, 49 loads in to 45 loads out. Washington, 371 loads in. That's up to 543 loads out. That's up even more. So you do have some negotiating power up there in Washington. Northwest is looking good. I'm not going to say it's looking great. It's not looking as great as it was last week, certainly the start of last week, and certainly not the week before. It was in really, really good shape 2 weeks ago. Last week was good, a little bit better than this. This week, I'd give it a B+. So unfortunately, it's going in the wrong direction, but we'll see. We'll see, because the snow and everything, I mean, y'all know how it is up there. Wisconsin, 750 loads in, 1,466 loads out. State of the week, probably. Really good shape. Yeah, really, really good shape. Those Great Lakes states, that's just where the money has been. West Virginia, 137 loads in, 196 loads out. And Wyoming, 53 loads in to 110 loads out. Now, because this is Monday, we are going to cover these trend lines. They're updated weekly, but on Mondays we tend to go over them because as the week goes on, these really don't change a whole lot, and we don't get any new information. I hope you're getting your trucker fuel in. Excuse me. All right. So the first number that I'm going to talk about is last week compared to the week prior. Okay. The second number is going to be the month of September compared to last September. So we'll breeze through that one real quick. The more important number is that first number. So the overall spot load posts, they're up week over week, 16.1%. So that's good, right? But September compared to last September was down 13%. The van load to truck ratio, this is for just vans, is up week over week, or on the weeks, let's put it that way, 19.5%. That's fantastic. But year over year, down nearly 10%. The spot rates, though, despite the increase in production, are down 1.5%. That does not make any sense to me whatsoever. When you see an increase in supply, right? Hold on. More. Oh, man, a brain fart. So it's an increase in demand. I wanted to compare it to supply, but it's actually technically a decrease in supply because the supply are the trucks. So when you see an increase in demand like that, the rate should go up. This makes zero sense. This is moving in the wrong direction. More truck drivers need to be more firm about what they're doing. And, the only way is word of mouth by anything. I'm not telling you to send people here to watch me. I mean, I would appreciate it. But at the same time, this just makes no sense. You're talking about almost a 20% increase in loads, right? But a decrease in rate, that's just dumb, right? Anyway, but the rates are the same for September this year as they were last year. Flatbeds, the load to truck ratio is up 17.6%. And because you have you've got a little bit more experienced truck driver, the rates are actually up 0.4%. Love to see that way more. I mean, it should be more, but I imagine the brokers are kind of hanging on and just not giving up a ton of that equity. But hey, they're going to have to if this increases. Since I have started this, we have done nothing but move in the right direction. It's been a slow grind, and there have been ups and downs. It's never just one direction. But overall, the market is slowly getting better and better and better. And when Mr. Trump wins the presidency, these are going to get better and better and better over the next 4 years. So you have something to look forward to. Just hang on. We are getting there. The skateboard load to truck ratio is up from September this year to last year, 28%. And the rates are up 3.6%. So really good move for flatbeds. Even reefers are looking good last week. So last week, the loads were up 22.2%. The rates were down almost 1%. Once again, makes no sense. It's ridiculous. That's just inexperience. But September this year compared to last year, the loads are down 1.9%, and the rates are lower by 2.5%. The fuel price for week over week is up 1.4%, which is interesting, but it's down 20% from year over year. Interesting. We're in an election year, and it's actually down. Don't even get me started. I'm not going to go there. The Nationals average spot rates for vans, October compared to September, it's up 5 pennies to $2.02. For flatbeds, it's up 5 pennies as well to $2.43. And for reefers, it's the same as it was last month at $2.38. We went over that already. The fuel price per gallon on average across the board is $3.63 for all markets. Or wait, that's fuel. For all states is what I meant to say. That's yesterday. We need to look at today. There we go. There's today. Yeah, you got to make sure that if you're using this, you got to look up and make sure that time frame is for today if you're doing this on your own, because you don't want yesterday's information. That doesn't do you any good. We need today's information. Alrighty, so starting up in the Northwest, there's just red everywhere, right? It's in really good shape. I imagine that the northern portion of Idaho is just in good shape, as well as Idaho, excuse me, in general because of the storm. And then you've got the Seattle market and the Portland market are both in really good shape. And even the southern half of Oregon is up compared to where it normally is. You've got a lot of red in California. That northern part, don't trust that. Because there's just not a ton of freight up there. But you've got the San Francisco markets in good shape. But the majority of the freight is going to be down there in the Los Angeles area as per usual. Now, if you are headed to San Diego, you're very likely going to need to bounce, whether it be out there in the middle of nowhere, California, or just to the Los Angeles market. That market is where it's going to take care of you. Wow, looking at Texas, look how poor this is. They're not even red. Normally, Houston and Dallas markets are both red. Even the market west of that Dallas is usually red as well. Today we have Houston being the winner at the the darker orange color, and then Dallas the loser at the lighter orange color, and then the market west of Dallas is just flat blue. So Texas is in horrible shape today. But the Louisiana market is above average in the southern half. So maybe if you are headed to Houston, can't really find what you like, check out Louisiana. The Southeast, supposedly the Atlanta market is hot, but you know, no, nothing is good that direction. But if you are over there, maybe you can find a load out of Atlanta. I don't know. I don't even know what to tell you. If you're headed to the Southeast and you don't live there, something wrong. Something wrong. Even the Memphis market, it's just average today. That's really bad. You do have a hotter market over there. What was that north of? Hold on, what is that? Chattanooga over there. No, and in even eastern east of that. It's showing some orange there in Kentucky, the southern portion of Kentucky, but there's not a ton of freight over there. You've got Louisville is hot. That that area is hotter. So that's good to see. Kansas City is above average. So if you are in Kansas, which Kansas was okay, of course the freight's over there in Kansas City, but Missouri's in such rough shape, the rest of it, that all of the trucks are going to flow that direction, and they're naturally going to flow that direction from Kansas, and they're naturally going to flow that direction if they're in the southeast portion of Nebraska as well. Iowa's not showing. It's not showing to be in great shape. It's showing the very most southeastern portion of Iowa is where the freight's located. Honestly, I don't know where the freight's located in Iowa. I do know that it's a market that you can negotiate in, though, despite the colors that you see on screen. Illinois. So the freight is showing to be close to the Chicago market, not necessarily in Chicago, but you're going to have your best shot getting close to Chicago, certainly. And then over in Indiana, you've got the southern half of Indiana is where the freight's located. That's normal because it's the Indianapolis market. Ohio. Oh, this is interesting for Ohio. You have the hottest market in Ohio is the very northwestern portion of Ohio. Now, it's normally the top half, that northeastern quadrant is really comes on, and it will very likely heat up as the week goes on. That's normal. But the southern half is only average. So, Ohio being in really good shape, I'm still going to go ahead and say, like, in the top half of Ohio, you're in good shape. You can certainly negotiate there. But Pennsylvania, it being in good shape, not great shape, better than normal, or above average freight, but it also has above average trucks kitted in. That's why the western half is just average, that market. So you may get some overflow from PA going towards Ohio. That's probably why that northeastern portion of Ohio is not super hot, because you're seeing a lot of that. That kind of kills that western half kind of kills Ohio's negotiating power, at least on the eastern side. If you're over on the western side, you can certainly negotiate. But the freight in PA is over on that eastern half, and then in Jersey, it's in the northern half. So it's kind of a mixed bag here today. Not great. It's decent. We are moving in the right direction, but markets that we've seen that have been hotter are not nearly as hot today, unfortunately. You got up there in the Great Lakes states. So the freight's going to be in Michigan. It's going to be on the western half. That's normal. It's not red. It's orange. So it's dark orange. So not great, but that's where the freight's going to be located. And Michigan, it was in really good shape. So I'm actually surprised why that's not red. That's interesting. Over in Wisconsin, it's kind of in that northern quadrant. Basically, if you draw a line from Minneapolis east, it's kind of that middle third of Wisconsin. That's where the freight's located there. I think it starts, I'm pretty sure Green Bay is kind of the start of that southern portion. So Wisconsin's in the middle of the state. That's where all the freight's going to be located, and that spreads all the way over towards Minneapolis. But the actual Minneapolis market is not hot; it's just average. So you've got that southeastern portion of Minnesota is showing to be kind of hot, but really the freight, if you're going to go up there to one of those two states, you want to go to Wisconsin. You want to try to hit the middle of the state. That is your trucking market update for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate it. If you made it this far, please, I remind you to give the video a like. I gave you 2 dad jokes today. I trade those for likes, right? And then also, it would be appreciated if you leave a comment. I know if you're driving, don't worry about it. But it really helps out the algorithms, helps me get this out there. Hopefully, some uneducated owner operators find this and they learn that they can actually negotiate, because we are moving in the right direction. We are trending in the right direction. We're seeing more freight. And if there is more freight than trucks, prices go up. It is simple supply and demand. So hopefully we see that move, and things get better for everyone. I do appreciate it. Once again, y'all keep that shiny side up, but as always, stay driven. I'll see you tomorrow.